They are the people who check your tickets, help with your luggage, or bring a wheelchair. They are security agents, baggage handlers, and cabin cleaners, the people who come aboard after passengers leave the plane and clean up the mess left behind. Some work directly for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, the airport operator. Others work for companies contracted by the airlines. David Harrison has been working as a skycap at the JFK airport since 2010. His employer, Allstate Maintenance, a subcontractor at the airport. For years, the company paid him far below the minimum wage, around $4 an hour.
When I first started as a skycap, I was making $3.90 an hour. And after about a year later, we were bumped up to about $4.15, from $4.15 to $4.40.
Even though he got a raise, David was still underpaid. His employer said it had a good excuse to pay him less.
We are tip workers, and they tried to make it seem as if we make enough money in tips so that it's okay for them to underpay us.
But for David and many workers like him, tips don't provide a steady, dependable income. He was earning below the minimum wage. In New York State, workers like David are supposed to make at least $6 an hour. The Port Authority took notice of this violation of the minimum wage laws and last July issued new guidelines. They required all employers, including subcontractors, to raise airport worker wages. 2 months later, New York's Attorney General Eric Schneiderman stepped in.
We are recovering $925,000 from Allstate, and the employees who are shortchanged will be receiving an average of $20,000 apiece in back pay and damages. Because airline passengers sometimes tip skycaps, the company decided it could get away with paying the skycap tipped wage, which is lower than the regular minimum wage. But even if Allstate had fulfilled the legal requirements for taking the tip credit, which the company did not do, it would still have to pay these workers at least $5.40 an hour.
Paying less than required minimum wage is just one form of the wage theft affecting airport workers.
We also see workers not receiving the allowance for laundering their uniforms that the law requires, not receiving proper overtime pay. In New York State, when workers work more than 10 hours a day or work a split shift where their shift that day is cut into 2 parts, there's extra payment that's required. These are just some of the examples of wage theft that workers face.
Brent Guerin is a lawyer for 32BJ SEIU, the union representing building service workers in New York. 80-year-old labor group is now working closely with airport workers. The union supported a series of strikes at JFK and LaGuardia and started a hotline to record and report wage theft issues at the airports. Guerin said they pay special attention to low-paid workers at airports, especially because subcontracting companies don't always follow the rules.
Many new wage regulations, when they come into effect, employers fight them. I think that the employers are, deciding whether to challenge this, challenge the Port Authority, or whether to accept it. I think there is a process in which the contractors who actually employ these workers are in discussions with the airlines who pay the contractors, where they're trying to figure out, trying to figure out how they will comply, but it's possible that their discussions are about whether they should comply.
A report from NYU's Robert F. Wagner Graduate School of Public Service says that the low-bid contracting system used by the airlines places premium on the bottom line cost of the contract at the expense of the employees. Another research firm, Ansler List Grove Research, recently conducted 500 interviews with passenger service workers at the 3 major New York airports. 40% of those surveyed claim to have experienced one form of weight theft. And it's not just underpayment. Papali Dahaj is a cabin cleaner who works for the company Airway. She remembers being forced to work overtime or working through scheduled meal breaks because of delayed flights.
Sometimes we do not get the full 30 minutes lunch because there's a flight at the gate, so they're rushing us to hurry up with our lunch, time to go to that aircraft, so we don't get that full 30 minutes majority of the time.
As part of its recent settlement with Allstate Maintenance, the company that employs SkyCap David Harrison, New York's Attorney General said his office is continuing to fight weight theft at the airports. And the guidelines recently issued by the Port Authority require subcontracting companies to increase the minimum hourly wage to $10.10 and to offer health care benefits next year. But there is no uniform standard for contracts, and not all companies follow the rules. The union's Brent Gavin says 32BJ is preparing to play a bigger role in the battle.
There's a combination of two things that will get companies to adhere to their legal requirements. One is legal enforcement actions, and the second is the actions of the workers.
For SkyCap David Harrison, he's doing better financially. He now earns $9 an hour and enjoys better working conditions, and he remains hopeful and cautious.
But we've gotten uniforms now, which we didn't have before. We had to get our own uniforms before. They've been talking about fixing our carts, the equipment that we use at work. So hopefully the company will start doing what's right and even probably paying us better.
I'm Qingqing Chen for 219 West.